The rumors are that Diddy was running some kind of Epstein-type deal where he was filming everybody, right?
That's the rumors, yeah. I don't know that there's any proof or anything other than that.
All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is.
All right, let's dive into this explosive story. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you see some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. Picture this. Keanu Reeves, one of Hollywood's most beloved and low-key stars, has just made a jaw-dropping revelation to the FBI. And it's shaking up the world of celebrity gossip. It's a story you won't want to miss, so stick around, because the details are not only shocking, but reveal a hidden side to the glamorous world we thought we knew.
Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs.
Now, if you've been following the news, you already know that Sean Diddy Combs, the hip-hop mogul who has been a dominant figure in the industry for decades, has recently been at the center of a massive investigation. But what most people don't know is that Keanu Reeves himself narrowly escaped becoming a part of the sordid events surrounding Diddy's now infamous private gatherings. Yeah, Keanu, Mr. Wholesome, Mr. Chill found himself in the middle of something dark, and only now, after Diddy's arrest, does he realize how close he came to being dragged into something that could have destroyed his life.
You know, for me, I know I'm a pretty simple guy,
But what exactly did Keanu reveal to the FBI, and what are these so-called private gatherings that have everyone whispering, well, let's break it down. The moment Diddy was taken into custody, sources started leaking bits of information, and it turns out these parties weren't just harmless celebrity hangouts. No, they were something far more sinister. And here's where Keanu Reeves comes into the picture. Imagine you're a rising star in Hollywood minding your own business when suddenly you're invited into a world of extravagance and luxury. For many, it might seem like the ultimate dream, but Reeves, he saw right through it, and what he almost got pulled into was more like a nightmare. According to the leaked details, these gatherings were elaborate events carefully crafted to lure in high-profile guests. The promise of wealth, influence, and connections was the bait, and once you were in, it was hard to get out. Diddy, with his powerful circle of celebrity friends, orchestrated these gatherings like a mastermind. Everything from the location to the guest list was curated to make sure that those in attendance would owe him in some way. And from what Keanu has revealed, things would start innocently enough: lavish dinners, private jets, and top-tier entertainment. But as the night went on, the real intentions of the host would become clear.
I've not been funded. They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves.
It's been said that Diddy's gatherings were a well-oiled machine of control and manipulation. And it wasn't just the men in the room who had to watch their backs. Women who attended were allegedly lured under the pretense of networking or career opportunities, only to find themselves in situations where they felt powerless. It's hard to imagine someone like Keanu Reeves, who's known for staying out of the limelight and keeping his private life low-key, being sucked into something like this, but that's exactly what almost happened.
That he controlled every aspect of her life. He is accused of frequently beating her and would hide her in hotel rooms for days until the bruising and signs of abuse were gone.
From what we've gathered, Keanu initially had no idea what he was getting into when he was first invited to one of Diddy's infamous parties. And let's face it, in Hollywood, people network all the time. These kinds of invites come with the territory. But as the night progressed, Keanu started to notice that something wasn't quite right. The atmosphere shifted, and suddenly, what seemed like a glamorous night of rubbing elbows with industry elites turned into a scene he wanted no part of. According to sources close to the actor, he managed to leave before things took a darker turn. And thank goodness he did, because based on what's been coming out in the news, these gatherings weren't just parties. They were carefully designed traps.
Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that hole I was telling you about. Right.
The FBI raids on Diddy's homes in Miami and Los Angeles turned up shocking evidence of just how far these parties went. Reports say that they found items you wouldn't expect at a regular celebrity party, things that suggest there was more going on behind closed doors. This is where things get even more chilling, because Keanu has shared that had he stayed longer that night, he might have been caught up in something that would have been impossible to walk away from. And here's the thing, Keanu Reeves isn't just some naive actor who doesn't know the game. He's been in the industry long enough to know how things work, but even he wasn't prepared for what Diddy had in store.
Clearly, there is a criminal investigation underway, and that they believe that there would be evidence of crimes in one or both of these homes.
Now, let's take a moment to step back and look at the bigger picture. What we're seeing here isn't just about one party or one celebrity. It's about a deeper, more disturbing culture that's been lurking in Hollywood for years. Diddy's so-called private gatherings were, in reality, just the tip of the iceberg. And if you think this is shocking, wait until you hear how deep this goes. The entertainment industry has long had whispers of powerful people using their influence to take advantage of those trying to make it big. We've seen it time and time again, whether it's the scandals surrounding figures like Jeffrey Epstein or Harvey Weinstein. These people use their connections and power to create an environment where the vulnerable can be exploited.
Yeah. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say them so freely.
Kid, I need another one. You here, get your number.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
This brings us to Diddy's infamous freak-off parties. Now, if you've been paying attention to the reports, you'll know that these parties weren't just exclusive get-togethers. They were elaborate events where the boundaries of what's acceptable were pushed to their limits. And according to the legal filings, women were invited under false pretenses, thinking they were attending harmless industry events, only to find themselves in situations they never agreed to. Let's not forget, the FBI raids turned up party supplies that suggest these gatherings were anything but innocent. And Keanu's testimony to the FBI only solidifies what many have been suspecting for years, that there was something much darker happening behind the scenes in Diddy's world.
Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did.
Here's where the comparisons to Jeffrey Epstein come into play. Much like Epstein, Diddy is accused of surrounding himself with powerful people who either looked the other way or were too afraid to speak out. The rumors of these gatherings have been around for a while, but it wasn't until now, with Diddy's arrest and Keanu's cooperation, that the full scope of what was going on is finally being revealed. Just like Epstein had his circle of elites, Diddy's inner circle included some of the biggest names in Hollywood. These aren't just random people. We're talking about listers who attended these gatherings. And while there's no evidence that everyone who went to these parties participated in the worst of it, there's no denying that a culture of silence allowed these events to continue for years without anyone stepping in.
And a lot of the evidence, alleged evidence, that's been gathered in this case was from those 2 raids that were conducted on his personal homes in Miami and Los Angeles. And the indictment names the things seized that he allegedly made videos of these performances that have been named freak-offs.
One of the most startling aspects of Keanu's revelations is the fear that seemed to grip those who were involved in Diddy's orbit. We're talking about powerful celebrities, moguls, and even politicians who either knew or heard about these parties but kept quiet. Why? Because just like in the Epstein case, speaking out against someone as powerful as Diddy could ruin careers, the entertainment industry is built on relationships, and no one wanted to risk burning bridges with one of the most influential figures in music and film. But now that Keanu has come forward, it seems like the floodgates are starting to open. His bravery in stepping up could be a catalyst for others to do the same.
When day you decided you wanted to be that kind of person?
I think it's just in my nature. I had good parents.
And let's not forget about the high-profile celebrities whose names have been linked to Diddy's parties. The list includes some of the most well-known figures in the industry, people like Jennifer Lopez, Jay-Z, and Usher. And while there's no concrete evidence linking these stars directly to the worst of what went on, their proximity to Diddy raises a lot of questions. Why were they there? What did they know? And why have so many of them remained silent since Diddy's arrest? For example, Usher's recent social media activity has only added fuel to the fire. Posts were mysteriously deleted, and fans have been left wondering if he's trying to distance himself from the situation.
I think in federal court and for these charges, they would say it's routine, but in the public realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in...
And it's not just Usher. Other stars who were once close to Diddy, like Ashton Kutcher, have also kept noticeably quiet. Sure, they might not be directly involved, but their silence speaks volumes. If you think about it, these celebrities are probably terrified that their names could get dragged into the mess, even if they were only bystanders. Hollywood is all about image, and no one wants to be associated with the kinds of accusations that are swirling around Diddy right now. As one insider put it, it's the same circle, the Epstein circle, the Weinstein circle. Everybody knew something was up, but no one wanted to be the one to blow the whistle.
We all saw it posted yesterday all over our social media pages. Cassie filed a lawsuit in New York City against Diddy.
Yikes.
She's claiming she was stuck in a decade-long cycle of abuse.
This brings us back to Keanu and why his decision to cooperate with the FBI is so significant. In an industry where silence is often the safest option, he's chosen to speak out. And his revelations are likely just the beginning. With every new piece of evidence that comes to light, the cracks in Diddy's empire are growing larger, and more people are being forced to reckon with what they knew and when they knew it. Keanu's story is a stark reminder that even the most powerful figures in Hollywood aren't immune to consequences, and the truth has a way of coming out no matter how long it takes.
The issue is it seems as though he wants to kind of like exert power and dominance over people who don't really want it.
But beyond the celebrities and the parties, there's an even more important aspect to this story: the victims. While Keanu Reeves may have narrowly escaped becoming part of Diddy's dark world, others weren't so lucky. The legal cases against Diddy paint a horrifying picture of how people were manipulated, pressured, and left feeling trapped with no way out. For many of the women involved, the psychological toll has been devastating. Imagine thinking you're attending a glamorous event only to find yourself in a situation where you feel completely powerless. And it wasn't just the fear of what was happening in the moment. Many of the victims were allegedly blackmailed afterward, with Diddy using recordings of what went down at these parties as leverage to keep people quiet.
I've had clients describe NBC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
The emotional scars from these experiences can last a lifetime, and that's something that's only now starting to come to light. With the FBI's investigation picking up steam and more people coming forward, we're likely going to hear more stories from those who were affected by Diddy's actions. And that's why Keanu's testimony is so crucial. By sharing what he knows, he's helping to build a case that could bring justice to those who were hurt and prevent this from happening to anyone else in the future.
And Stacey, you say today's indictment reads like a mob indictment. What was most shocking to you of all these allegations?
Yeah, the fact, Jake, that the government in this indictment presented evidence alleging that Sean Combs was running a criminal enterprise.
As we look ahead to what comes next, it's clear that this story is far from over. Diddy's arrest was just the beginning, and the ripple effects are being felt throughout Hollywood. So, as we move into the next chapter of this wild story, let's take a closer look at the fallout from Diddy's arrest and the ongoing FBI investigation. We already know Keanu Reeves barely escaped being ensnared in Diddy's elaborate web, but now the spotlight is squarely on Diddy himself and the empire he's built over the past 3 decades. What happens when a titan falls? That's what we're about to unpack. Because let's be real, this scandal has the potential to shake up not only Diddy's career, but the entire entertainment industry.
Now, so what is next? Is he going to be in jail in this facility until the trial begins? Is there a chance he could, get moved earlier than that?
As of this moment, as of this hour, as of today, yes. But of course, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be appealing this thing next to the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn the judge's order here to try and get him actually released.
Now, when Diddy was first arrested, it wasn't just another celebrity getting into a bit of trouble. No, this was something much bigger. Authorities swooped in, raiding his homes in Miami and Los Angeles, and what they found confirmed what many had only whispered about for years. According to the reports that leaked after the raid, investigators discovered things that you wouldn't expect to find in the home of a music mogul. Let's just say the list of party supplies they came across paints a pretty disturbing picture of what those private gatherings were really about. The FBI has been working on this case for a long time, quietly gathering evidence, while Diddy was living his best life, seemingly untouchable. And for years, it looked like he was. But with his arrest, the investigation went into overdrive. They found more than just material evidence during those raids. Phones, computers, all of it was seized. And the most shocking part? Hidden cameras. Yep, those rumors that Diddy had been secretly recording everything that happened at these parties, turns out they were true. Footage of guests, many of them unaware they were being filmed, was reportedly stored away, which has raised even more questions about blackmail and control.
And in this lawsuit, he claims that essentially P. Diddy was the Epstein of the rap industry.
What's more, it's not just the items that were found that are raising eyebrows. It's how meticulously planned and organized these parties were. We're talking about everything from booking travel for guests to ensuring that all necessary entertainment was ready and waiting. According to insiders, Diddy had a whole team whose job was to make sure everything ran smoothly, from setting up the rooms to cleaning up afterward. And this wasn't just a one-off thing. This was a system in place for years. It's like something out of a Hollywood thriller, except this time, it's all too real.
Well, if he really was filming everybody, I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
Now, let's dig a little deeper into Diddy's empire and how this investigation could unravel it. Diddy's name has been synonymous with success for decades. From his early days building Bad Boy Records into one of the most influential labels in hip-hop to his ventures in fashion and media, he's always had the Midas touch. Everything he touched turned to gold. But now, all of that is in jeopardy, and it's not just his public persona at risk. His entire business empire is at stake. You see, when you're at the top of an industry like Diddy has been, your reputation is everything. It's what keeps the deals coming in, the endorsements flowing, and the collaborations happening. But once that reputation is tainted, it can all come crashing down. And that's exactly what we're starting to see here. Even before his arrest, there were signs that things were starting to shift. For example, a lot of big-name celebrities who were once tight with Diddy have been noticeably distancing themselves. We've already mentioned Usher and Ashton Kutcher, but the list goes on.
That's of course. There's layers upon layers. When you get into these conspiracy theories, man, they never end. They never end. There's just layers upon layers upon layers.
And let's talk about the silence. Jennifer Lopez, who once dated Diddy, has remained completely quiet about this whole ordeal. Jay-Z, who has been friends with Diddy for years, hasn't said a word either. Why? Because no one wants to be caught in the crossfire of what could be the biggest scandal to hit Hollywood in years. Everyone is playing it safe, hoping that by staying silent, they won't get dragged into the mess. But here's the thing. In Hollywood, silence often speaks louder than words. The fact that these people aren't jumping to defend Diddy says a lot. It's almost as if they know something the rest of us don't. This brings us to Diddy's accomplices, the people who helped him keep the machine running all these years. While Diddy is undoubtedly the central figure in this scandal, he didn't act alone. No one builds an empire like his without having a team of loyal insiders willing to do the dirty work. And as more details emerge, it's becoming clear that some of these insiders may have been complicit in what went down at those infamous gatherings. Assistants, managers, and even security personnel, all of them played a role in making sure Diddy's wishes were carried out without question.
When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them.
These are the people who allegedly made the calls to set everything up, ensuring the guests arrived, the rooms were ready, and the atmosphere was perfect. They were the ones who cleaned up afterward, who handled the logistics, and who, if we're being honest, probably knew more about what was really happening than anyone else. And if the FBI is able to prove that these individuals knew what was going on and actively participated in keeping it quiet, they could be facing serious consequences of their own. It's not just Diddy's neck on the line here, it's everyone who helped him maintain control. Speaking of control, let's talk about the culture of silence that allowed all of this to go on for so long. Hollywood has always had a dark side. It's a world where power and influence can protect people from facing the consequences of their actions. We saw it with Epstein, we saw it with Weinstein, and now we're seeing it with Diddy. For years, there were rumors about what was happening behind closed doors, but no one was willing to speak up. Why? Because they were afraid. Afraid of losing their careers, afraid of being blacklisted, afraid of the repercussions that come with crossing someone as powerful as Diddy.
Someone said that they weren't there to take stuff, they were there to delete everything. The real people that were in there, you know.
Oh,
like
that's
the same
funny.
thing with Epstein.
Oh, that's funny.
And it's not just fear that kept people quiet. There's also the very real possibility that some of the people in Diddy's inner circle were benefiting from his actions. Whether it was through money, connections, or career opportunities, being close to someone like Diddy has its perks. And when you're riding high on the coattails of someone as influential as him, it can be easy to look the other way. But now, with Diddy's empire crumbling, all of those people who stayed silent are being forced to reckon with their decisions. The question is, how many of them will come forward now that Diddy's power is fading?
This has to be a 100% culture shock. I can't imagine living a lifestyle of the incredibly rich and famous and then going into this very dark, impersonal, cold, austere facility.
This brings us to another key aspect of the story, the celebrity connections that are now under scrutiny. Diddy has always surrounded himself with the biggest names in the business, and many of these stars were regulars at his gatherings. Some of them have been named in the media, while others are quietly distancing themselves, hoping they won't be implicated in the ongoing investigation. The fact is, when you're part of a circle like Diddy's, it's hard to claim complete ignorance about what was happening behind the scenes. Think about it. When you're attending these high-profile events, you're not just mingling with other celebrities. You're in an environment where certain behaviors are normalized, where the rules don't apply in the same way they do in the outside world. And while not everyone who attended these gatherings was directly involved in the worst of it, there's no denying that many of them saw things that should have raised red flags. So why didn't anyone speak up? Because, once again, we're back to the culture of silence that has long protected the powerful in Hollywood.
All lies will be exposed, that's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
Now, let's talk about Diddy's history of manipulation. This isn't the first time we've heard about Diddy using his influence to get what he wants. We all remember the stories of his volatile relationships, most notably with Cassie, who dated Diddy for years before finally breaking free from his grasp. Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy, in which she accused him of years of emotional and physical mistreatment, was one of the first major cracks in the facade he had built. And while Diddy settled the lawsuit, the damage to his reputation was done. It was the beginning of the end for him, and now, with the FBI investigation in full swing, it's clear that Cassie's story was just the tip of the iceberg.
Special housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown unit, which means that any movement within that unit is controlled and coordinated, and no inmate moves outside of his cell without being in full restraints, to include leg irons, handcuffs, a belly chain, and at least 2, if not 3 staff members escorting them.
According to insiders, Diddy's manipulation wasn't limited to his romantic relationships. He used the same tactics with people in his professional life, controlling those around him with promises of fame, fortune, and power. If you wanted to succeed in Diddy's world, you had to play by his rules. And those who didn't find themselves on the outside looking in. It's no wonder that so many people kept quiet for so long. When your career is on the line, when your future depends on staying in Diddy's good graces, it's easy to justify turning a blind eye to the things you know are wrong.
That this is the end of the Diddy story as we know it.
But now that the truth is coming out, those same people are facing a reckoning. Diddy's arrest has sent shockwaves through the industry, and the ripple effects are being felt far and wide. People who once saw Diddy as untouchable are now scrambling to distance themselves, hoping that their names won't be dragged into the scandal. But here's the thing, in Hollywood, secrets don't stay buried for long. And with the FBI investigation still unfolding, it's likely that more names will be connected to Diddy's world in the coming weeks and months. At the same time, we can't ignore the fact that this scandal is bigger than just Diddy. It's about a system that has allowed people like him to operate with impunity for years. It's about an industry that prioritizes money, fame, and power over accountability and justice. And as we've seen in the past, when one domino falls, others are likely to follow. Diddy's arrest is just the beginning of what could be a much larger unraveling of Hollywood's dark side. And the question on everyone's mind is, who's next?
Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest a guy who came to New York to turn himself in.
As we continue to follow this story, one thing is clear. The investigation into Diddy's actions isn't going away anytime soon. The FBI is digging deep, and with people like Keanu Reeves coming forward to share what they know, more revelations are bound to surface. The fall of Diddy's empire is already in motion, but the full extent of the damage is yet to be seen. Will other celebrities be implicated? Will more victims come forward? And most importantly, will justice be served?
Replete with very, very serious and salacious allegations, including allegations that Combs had cameras throughout his homes.
For now, all we can do is wait and watch as the pieces of this puzzle come together. Diddy's arrest has exposed the rot at the core of Hollywood's elite, and the fallout is only just beginning. What started as whispers has now become a full-blown scandal, and the truth is finally starting to emerge. But as more details come to light, the real question becomes, how far does this go? Who else is involved? And will the entertainment industry finally be forced to confront the dark realities that have been hiding in plain sight for far too long? Let us know what you think in the comments below. See you next time!